For those that are watching from across the country, in the region and the globe, welcome to our Kickstarter segment of Morning at NTV. We are speaking the opposition boycott of Parliament that started on the 10th of October. We shall be analyzing in the next 45 minutes or so what is the best way forward, are boycotts effective, and what is in store if the National Resistance Movement administration stays adamant in as far as attending to the needs and the prayers that have been presented by the opposition is concerned. Just a preamble before I introduce my guests is that on the 10th of October, that was just hours after the country celebrated the anniversary of independence, members of parliament, mainly from the opposition, who were concerned at what they say was the continued arbitrary arrests of his supporters and leaders, and the brutal conduct of the police was not being addressed as effectively as it should be by the government. They said that particular move, the walkout and the boycott, is designed to put pressure on the government to come clean and answer some of the questions that have been outstanding. I'm joined on site by the Kampala women representative, Honorable Shamim Malende, who is also a front seater when it comes to issues of the National Unity Platform. A very warm welcome to the program, Honorable.
Thank you so much. Good morning, viewers.
I'm also joined by Honorable Alex Kintu, MP for Kagoma North County, who is also the spokesperson for the National Resistance Movement Caucus in Parliament. Many thanks for joining us.
Good morning, viewers.
And on my immediate left is seasoned political commentator, fierce NRM critic and executive director at the Center for Constitutional Governance, Dr. Sarah Bireete. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, and good morning, viewers.
All right, before I get Honorable Shamim Malende, my apologies for the mispronunciation, to give us an overview of where we are with regard to the negotiations, so to speak. Sarah Bireete, you are emblazoned in green. You've never identified with the Democratic Party.
But the Democratic Party no longer exists, or hasn't it taken over?
Interesting there. So it's now okay to go green?
Yeah, for us who are non-partisan. I think now green is back in the pool of colors.
You anticipated a red and a yellow. And
that also, yes, but now green is a politically neutral color because it went into an alliance, so a merger.
Talking about political neutrality, many of us will want a little bit of that dose heading into 2026. Honorable Malende, where are we regarding the negotiations between the state and the opposition, led by leader of opposition Matthias Mpuuga, on the way forward?
Thank you so much for that question. First and foremost, I'd like to inform our viewers that currently we are still on a standoff. As opposition, we have not resolved to go back to Parliament because we feel that the issues that are affecting the people, issues of rights and freedoms, should not be issues that actually should be negotiated upon. These are issues that everyone must respect. These are issues that the state must take a serious note of and actually act on. So as opposition, we have not gone back to Parliament, and reason being, you all know that we raised our demand, our several demands to government, whereby we're complaining about the rampant human rights violations, abduction of citizens without trace, illegal detentions, political prisoners being tried in, martial courts and all that stuff. So we made some requests to government, which we wanted to be incorporated in their statement on the floor of Parliament. And some of those requests were that we wanted government to come up first and foremost and release all political prisoners. Secondly, we wanted the government to come up and apologize to the Ugandans for unequivocal apology for all the violations that have been meted on Ugandans, including the killings, the abductions, the illegal arrests, and so much of the violations of rights. But we also wanted government to make a commitment to Ugandans that they will not continue violating these rights. And those are the issues that we wanted so much to be centered on, because we feel that the issues of rights are so fundamental. And being a parliament, which is supposed to be a national parliament, these are some of the issues that we must give priority. So when the government came up with a statement through their minister, all they presented on the floor were, you know, just statements of explaining themselves that, you know, police are supposed to keep land order. They never manhandled President Kyagulanyi. They just escorted him home. You know that those formal statements, just to not to say, you know, I've made a statement and let me go away with it. So we could not settle for less, because Ugandans are really tired. We are all tired. We have a mandate to protect our constitution. We have a mandate to see our primary role as a parliament. Remember, we do legislate. So if we legislate, we must ensure that the laws which we have legislated are respected. And if the laws provide that if you are to arrest a person, you follow a certain procedure. If you're supposed to present a person before court, present the person in so and so many hours. Yes, so if the laws are very clear and now they are not respected, and as parliament we pretend to be, you know, proceeding as usual and saying, you know, that is not so much of an important issue, we feel it is really wrong. And that's why we are stepping our foot down and we are saying we are not going to go back to parliament unless these issues are resolved. And for us, we are saying it's not about how many times you frequent parliament and sit there and they see you that, you know, the Shamim Malende is seated there, but what quality are you producing as a parliament? What issues are you discussing that are touching the people? And the people of Uganda have told us, the people of Kampala have communicated, the women have communicated, the youth have communicated, every family is crying. People have missing persons. They don't know where they can get them from. And the state has come out in the past to admit that they have some of these people. And now they are coming out and they are saying, now we don't have them. You saw previously the human rights boss. She made a public pronouncement. She was saying that sometimes she works under fear. People come with, you know, ammunitions in the meetings. They come with guns. So now we don't know where she's falling now. We don't know which side she is now. Is she acting under intimidation, or she has decided to say, you know what, let me just put all my guns down and just do what I'm supposed to do to please a certain group. So that is where we are. And we are saying things must be worked on. Issues of rights must be given priority by the parliament. All
right, you've just made some allegations too, and I hope Honorable Brandon Alex Kintu, the spokesperson of the National Resistance Movement Caucus, can comment on them. The fact that officials apparently do enter meetings with rights, with the honchos at the Human Rights Commission armed to the teeth, and that is apparently intimidating those particular officials. But before you answer that question, what's your take on the opposition's view that violations have gone on for far too long? These arbitrary arrests shouldn't be happening, and that government should come out clean and be able to address this particular concern, not only for the opposition, but the nation as a whole?
Thank you so much. Actually, as humans, and every person who has a great sense, when God created us, gave us a chance of opting either to choose what is wrong and what is right. But like Honorable Malende says, the issue of human rights cuts across. It has nothing to do with politics. I have seen giants in NRM, those who have been there before the times. They have been oppressed, they have been silenced. There are so many relevant examples in this country, and they are still living. But as NRM and as members of parliament and as citizens, because the most important thing is that we all first be Ugandans before we would come NUP or DP or any other part of your choice. We condemn and strongly stand together as a country. I think the misunderstanding here would come on the way we operate. It's just like at a burial, if you lost your mother, there are those who are crying. In my tradition in Usoga, there are those who cry and shout, and after 2 minutes they ask for porridge. And then there are some of us who may be there heartily, deeply hurt. You cry inside, you bleeding, but because you are not expressing yourself by shouting and throwing yourself, people will not think you're mourning. So that's the approach. And then also is that as government, we do have institutions, we do have structures. probably the best when I hear the chair or the boss of human rights saying she's intimidated, she must resign then. There's no option on that, resign. Why should we equate our responsibility to others and say, if I'm given responsibility, I speak for the NRM, it would not stop me from speaking out my mind. Because I'm still here, I'm just starting my journey into this political work. So if you are an office, if you are an officer in a public office, and then recklessly you make statements that I have been intimidated, you're not fit for a job. And that will not be if government or any other person, if Dr. E employs me, I should be under minimum supervision. When I used to work in a civil society organization, what value are you adding to this commission? Because this is the first. We are looking at you. These commissioners, some of them have been in civil society, condemning and raising hands. They are now commissioners, they are quiet. So I think also on our employment policy, people, Ugandans should be patriotic. Before you even rush the government, you are Ugandan, you are given responsibility. How much are you charging? Recently, I think about a year ago, when the president used to address the nation, he came out clear and said, those people have been arresting people, torturing them, they should be handled personally. This nonsense of saying power from above, the above is speaking. So you as a Ugandan who is also employed, serving your country, the problem I think I've seen with all of us, even as members of parliament, do we understand our roles as members of parliament? Because if we do understand, we would be doing exactly, we would be standing together. But as Honorable Malende and Doctor knows, we have a committee of human rights in parliament, and it's shared both the opposition and the NRM. We also have an equal opportunity commission. We have tried to address, but sometimes the personalities and people, how they handle, but we stand together as parliament. Even Honorable Malende knows that when our two colleagues were arrested and Segrinya fell sick, we stood, we demanded for an explanation as parliament, irrespective of our political affiliations. The report came, but still the unfortunate bit, and I think she remembers, when the chair of the human rights was trying to read, I think that was the very, very first walkout they made. We could not listen. So we are saying, we all cry, we all say it's unfortunate, it's embarrassing, it's shameful, but how do we address it? As the House where we make laws, we make legislation, can we still have that platform? It's good, it's entitlement. It's not breaking the law that they would walk out. If we can also have something that we are being suppressed, we would walk out. But then, what is the end effect to this? Because if we want, let us steal. And by the way, now looking at the police, I sit on the Committee of Internal Affairs and Police. When the honorables and the rest of the people raised these issues, we have summoned. But when you are doing investigations, you're not going to come. We are not dealing with issues of buying bagia or pancakes. These are serious issues of human rights. So when we are trying to negotiate, when we are trying to, in our committee we are busy, we have just been in a retreat. We have been questioning these guys to investigate them. And then the other question also when we talk about rights, I think there are so many people in Busoga as well, because this comes with a bias. You had the Honorable Malende here giving a very specific example. That saying, yeah, the other day they arrested President Chagwe. But we also want to stand together and have a nationwide cross complaints, because there are same things in Karamoja. There are same things in Busoga where I come from.
I'm trying to come to terms with the narrative that you're putting forth, Honorable Kintu. You spoke about the fact that there are some elements who have apparently been big. They've gotten oppressed, they have become silenced, and apparently for them they are not mourning like others. And that I find a little bit awkward. You are on the Committee of Internal Affairs, you say. Aspects of human rights must not be reduced to who is crying most and who is not crying.
That's not what I said. And I will still repeat you to tell you that it depends on the mode. I know so many men in homes that are violated, but they keep quiet. You may come out with your suit shining, but when you're bleeding inside. So I wouldn't think it's better that we relate it to that.
I'm not understanding also the
Yeah, are you trying to justify?
I am answering when you say, no.
Okay.
I'm telling you, we operate differently. You can shout, you can move your clothes. Probably I can choose to go to church and commend this in the hands of the Lord. So those people they might be very silent, but they are also, and we are not saying they don't have any right, and no one here is saying that the issue of abusing human rights is good. It's embarrassing. Those were my first statement. And as government, and me and Malende, who sit in the other arm of government, we should enact, strengthen, and also make recommendation. I would be very happy if the leader of opposition came up with a recommendation. They say, we should sack this chair of human rights. So and so should be. And believe me, we will all stand.
That would be going personal. That would be going personal. You cannot advise who should have a job and who should
my brother, if people are holding offices, sometimes they not look at you as again, they look at NTV. You are representing a fact.
You've conveniently blamed the victims, including those who cry about intimidation, as if you're crying about intimidation, resign. And I'm finding that a little bit awkward.
Because you have failed your responsibility. And what's happening?
Somebody is being intimidated and they have failed.
How can we even prove? Did she report anywhere at police?
Dr. Bireete,
she's just coming in the media.
I was going to ask you a question, but let me let you respond to him and what she said.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, first of all, we need to acknowledge that even though the Constitution has been watered down, all officers of government and all agencies of government still operate under the 1995 Constitution as amended. Under that Constitution, Parliament has a specific job to do. Article 79 of the Constitution specifies the functions of Parliament. Make laws for the peace, order, development of Uganda, protect the Constitution, and promote constitutional governance. It is as precise as that. Parliament has additional work of oversight and appropriation, but that comes under promotion of constitutional governance. Most of our MPs, I think, have not read Article 79. There is only one article that specifies the functions of Parliament, and they are as precise as I've mentioned them. Whether they understand Article 79 of the Constitution or not is what the population should hold them against. Our Constitution has a Bill of Rights. Article 23 clearly stipulates in too much detail the manner of arrest in the Republic of Uganda. There is an advantage in a situation of missing persons. The current Minister of State for Internal Affairs was the CDF at the time when drones emerged. All the people who were captured by drones, the few who have resurfaced have appeared in court-martial. This is evidence that the army kidnapped Ugandans using drones. And who was the man at the helm of the army? He's the current Minister of State for Internal Affairs. General
Muhoozi.
Yes. So when you violate the manner of arrest as specified in the Constitution, you have usurped the Constitution of Uganda. Article 28 goes further to specify under the right to a fair trial. Hold the people for a maximum of 48 hours, a rule that has always been watered down. And I wish on this show to invite NRM through their spokesperson to say that if this Constitution is difficult for them to implement, they have the majority numbers in Parliament. You amend it, go and legislate for kidnaps, go and legislate for drones, let that become our new order in this country.
All right, Sarah Bireete, I'm going for a short break because it's the top of the hour, but you've asked a very specific question to the spokesperson of the NRM caucus. He doesn't speak for the government,
but it's the party in power.
But speaks for the party in power within the confines of Parliament. And many times we've seen the caucus decide on matters of national importance. Perhaps you might take on the jacket of spokesperson for the party, but that's after the break. The Kickstarter conversation does continue. Do stay with us.
NTV.
Welcome back. For those that went with us into the break, if you're just joining us, this is the Kickstarter segment of Morning at NTV, and we are discussing the opposition boycott of Parliament in light of events on the 10th of October that saw members of Parliament led by Honorable Matthias Impuga, claiming that government ought to come out unequivocally and speak about the gross violation of rights, including the arrests and detention of activists and supporters of some of the opposition parties. With me on site, I have Shamim Malende, the Honorable Woman Representative for Kampala. She's also a front-seater when it comes to matters National Unity Platform. I have Brandon Alex Kintu, the MP for Kagoma North County. He's also spokesperson for the NRM caucus. And for a bit of an overview, I have the Executive Director at the Center for Constitutional Governance, Dr. Sarah Bireete. Dr. Sarah Bireete had directly asked Honorable Kintu, when it comes to legislation, shouldn't you just take over if making sure that the Constitution as issues as stipulated is a difficult one for the National Resistance Movement government to implement? You should be able to work out your own aspects and then perhaps we move from there. Was that the question?
Let them amend it.
Amend it to suit your convenience.
It's difficult. You don't, for Article 23 of the Constitution in arrests, you don't, for Article 28 on a right to a fair trial, you remove these safeguards and operate in a draconian way that you want, that you are doing.
First of all, the Constitution that was made, it also has provisions of amendment. But I believe and trust that those amendments should be within the line. The President of this country, he takes an oath of protecting all Ugandans' welfare and everything. So it's the chief lead into this. Me and Shamim, when we got sworn in, we held the same Constitution. We held the same Bible saying we shall protect and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. And that's our role that we do. It will be actually very funny if we would go, unless the doctor suggests that we call on a referendum for the whole constitution amendment, which is also entitled within the law.
Are you protected?
But we can also devise means. We can come here on TV and talk, we can go elsewhere. But let us also have, in civil society, I worked there for some time and it gave me a nice platform. Let us also have these petitions. If you're looking, like I want to promise you on this station, that as a member of Defense and Internal Affairs Committee, we have also written to the Minister of Internal Affairs. I'll raise the same questions the way you have raised, but can we also have a formal way? Because this is a collective effort. As Parliament does, as the NRM does, can we also have, in the previous Parliament, yes. Yeah, I'm coming to that. I used to see so many people taking petitions to Parliament, to the Speaker. And most of these petitions, I took one from Kagoma, it was responded on. Now, where is this? Why can't we do this? If you brought us a petition also, just find all those of the general. And no. Let us explain the concept and let us act together. This is something that embeds all of us. We should use possible ways. If you are attacked by poverty, you will try piggery, you will try poultry. At the end of the day, you will shine up there. So let it be collective. Let us not only point the government, the NRM MPs. We are all individuals, and it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to uphold the Constitution as a role.
I'll be switching very closely to Honorable Shamim Malende for her to help us understand whether there have been any specific petitions that have been put forward and either rejected or completely thrown under.
No, but let me ask one question in addition to the members of Parliament.
Okay.
Is this a confession that you have failed to protect the Constitution?
Because I was going to ask that what is hard in ensuring that the Constitution is implemented on arrests, arbitrary detentions, and who is brought to which court?
We have actually, if you follow properly and make your investigation, there are so many people that have been brought before a court against their acts. But like I told you, you will make a statement here. It will be owned by the NTV. And that's why you people in your broadcasting, you have those things you run. These views are not the presenters or blah, 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 or NBS.
Those are disclaimers.
So
because we deal with the facts. And we don't want to.
I'm telling you, it's not issues of security. We may discuss here. But these are things that consolidate a lot. We cannot exhaust everything on public media or like in sittings of the village councils. But there is an initiative that is being taken. And I have told you, we have structures. Me and Malende, we know if we want to do this, how do we proceed? That's why we can contradict, but we have the rules of procedure. So we are not saying these things have not happened. They have been, you've been broadcasting them, but let us work now on a mechanism instead of lamenting and pointing on the other side.
You've been accused of lamenting and failing to take advantage of the mechanisms in place for addressing some of these concerns. Have you written any petitions as the opposition? And if you have, update us on what happened.
Thank you so much. You know, what I've heard from my honorable colleague is he's actually instead the one who is lamenting. Because what opposition did is that we walked out because we wanted action. We were tired of, you know, their lamentations as any RM on the floor of parliament. And I'm saying he's also here and he's still lamenting and he's now pushing it to us. So the issue is that Ugandans are interested in action. They want a government that works for them, not a government that speaks and explains itself. You know, my husband, my son, my wife has been abducted and is missing for years. And I'm listening to Brandon here saying, you know what, hey, let's work out things. We can talk on TV about these issues. We can go somewhere and discuss. And, you know, my interest is that I want government to produce my person because I know they took him. I know they took her. So first and foremost, before we even do anything, before we even point fingers at the opposition, at the alternative government, we should ask these ones in power, what action are they taking in listening to the voices of the people?
What is the level of engagement with human rights organizations?
Yes, of course, as opposition and even other, you know, people who are not actually partisan. Petitions have been presented to the Human Rights Commission. We have put petitions before the Human Rights Committee. We have petitioned the Parliament. Reports on the statements on the floor of Parliament have been made by myself, the Shadow Justice Minister. The Leader of Opposition has presented. If you go on the Hansard, if you go there, you'll see all those statements. You'll see the petitions there, but things are being sat on. Now, the question is, this issue of human rights should not be reduced to, you know, me, I agree with the position of you know, with what government has done or with what opposition has done, because these are freedoms and rights which cut across, like he has also done what? He has also agreed. So I think these are issues that should be national and that should that every person should interest himself in. Actually, it's not even about just the legislators. Like I'm so proud of, you know, OHT, Sarah, because, you know, these are people, they are bringing their voices to speak and say, yes, we may be non-partisan, but we are seeing we must guide our country. We must speak about issues that must be spoken about because they concern all of us. But that aside, we must ask ourselves, these people have, there's something that, that Brandon brought in. He said, at the end of the day, what's the end in it? There is that arrogancy in that parliament, saying, well, you know, we have the numbers, let them walk out. Even if they walk out, finally they will come back. And it is intentional that, you know, what will they do? We have the numbers. After all, Parliament can proceed without them. After the 15 consecutive sittings, we can, you know, scare them off and all that. So we are saying that even this impunity should be worked on. They should look at it and say, you know, we don't want them to be like the Attorney General one time came on the floor of Parliament and was misguiding the Speaker on how, you know, legally on how to proceed because it was in violation of the law. And when he was, you know, he was being advised that much as you're the Land Attorney General, but this is not right. He just said, you have a right to go to court. If you don't agree, you will go to court. Opposition will go to court. And actually, it took the Speaker and the involvement of some members for the Attorney General to apologize. Because imagine you are the Attorney General, you are the principal legal advisor of government. You're supposed to guide them so that they do not make mistakes, so that they avoid litigation and all that. But you are saying you will go to court if you're dissatisfied with what I'm doing. So it is what these people are doing. And let me tell you, these violations are costing taxpayers money, the ordinary Ugandan. Because at the end of the day, people who have missing persons, people who suffer from false imprisonments and you know, malicious prosecution. They bring cases in court against the Attorney General. We have a debt which has not been paid to date. Government is saying it has no funds to clear off the court debts. So these people, at the end of the day, when they violate, when they commit these omissions and the violations, it comes back to us, the taxpayer, because at the end of the day, it is the taxpayer's money that has to be used to pay for compensation for violation of conversation rights. There. But also, there is something little that I wanted to add, maybe before you... Very quickly. Yes. We also have to address the problem is overstay. Overstay. Overstay is causing a lot of overstay in power. That's a very important topic that
Bireete has overstayed as MP.
They have overstayed in power. The NRM government, yes, as a party, they have overstayed, and now they are using all impunitive measures to ensure that we stay by suppressing freedoms of expression, freedoms of speech, people with different political opinions, and that is a big problem that we must deal with as a country.
All right, behavioral psychologists will understand you very much when you try to show exactly why they are doing certain things the way they are doing them. But I'll be asking you a little bit later on the way forward, in case the national resistance movement stays adamant, how business is going to be affected and whether the taxpayer is not ultimately going to pay for your actions where you know perhaps the government will stay adamant. Brandon Kintu, you're itching to say something, but allow me give you a minute so that I can come to something that should transition us.
Just into actually less than a minute. I just want to inform Honorable Malende that we actually miss them. If you go to the answered, if you got the answer of Parliament, the biggest legislation is done by the opposition. So let us unite as a Parliament. We appeal and beg you. I would use the most finest word that we really,
can you unite to fight impunity?
That's what I'm saying. And we can only fight impunity when we are at the floor of Parliament. You come back.
Let me introduce. Let me give you.
And we move
Let me give you a small tool for mobilization of these opposition MPs. I think all of you should be able to WhatsApp them. It's simple, we miss you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'll do that immediately after I hear.
Sarah Bireete, help us understand. When opposition boycotts proceedings in Parliament, a lot is curtailed in terms of what's supposed to be discussed. The plenary itself is affected. The numbers might be in favor of the national resistance movement, and any law can be passed within this stalemate, no doubt about it. But given the history of boycotts in Uganda, and it could be anywhere else in the world, how effective is this particular one going to help?
Well, in Uganda we have had two previous effective boycotts. I don't call them, maybe historical boycotts under NRM. The first one was the Zirtwaura boycott, when he opposed the extension of NRM, the 4 years. And maybe if Ugandans had listened to him, we wouldn't be where we are today. Had that extension not happened, because that was the first abuse of power under NRM. The second boycott was the walkout by the opposition members during the Constituent Assembly, making in protest against Article 269 of the Constitution then, that was prohibiting multi-party activities in Uganda, and they did not sign the Constitution. But globally, we have had boycotts, effective boycotts, especially under the civil rights movement in the US, when Rosa Parks led the protest against people of color being pushed to sit at the back of the bus, and when she took the front seat. That was a landmark step in promoting civil rights in the US and pushing back against racism at the time. Boycotts are an effective tool in a democracy. But maybe the question we would ask in our case is that beyond the paper, is Uganda a democracy? I think Uganda is a democracy on paper only. That's why you see people who should be duty bearers, who should be servants of the people, speak with too much arrogance, and they are aloof and are not accountable to the people. I want to assert that the failure to account for missing persons in Uganda is evidence that NRM is not accountable to the people, is evidence that NRM has usurped and violated the Constitution beyond redemption, and is evidence that we are a dictatorship. Because how should How the first duty of any government is to protect citizens with their property. The second duty is to protect the territorial integrity of a country. And these duties are led by the Uganda People's Defense Forces, in our case. So when you have people whose duty is to protect citizens with their property, are engaged in broad violation of the people they are supposed to protect. I've never heard of any government that kidnaps its people. So people who support NRM should know that beyond the paper, they are equated with Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab and maybe the Hamas. How do you kidnap your own citizens that you take oath to protect? If citizens have violated the law, arrest them in accordance with the law.
The Honorable Chief
produce them in courts. They are like Boko Haram.
Security concerns and perhaps
what security?
Which we cannot explain.
What security? Where does it provide? We have anti-terrorism laws. We have all laws, including laws and charges under treason. Where does it state that the government can kidnap its people and it's a security matter? That's really hogwash.
All right, there you are, Honorable Kintu. What should you be advising the conduct of business with particular interest on how to communicate these aspects?
The doctor made a very nice statement that I think I'll need to drink a cup of tea after here. She said they are individuals. You know, most of these institutions, they don't, we are not employing robots. We are employing individuals.
Humans.
Human beings. That's why I say that these people, everyone in your respective vocation, you must check yourself. You must know you are at a service of Uganda. I would not actually dispute. I've also been seeing, even in my presence in Ginger, I remember some election where people were coming, plainly clothed, and then bumping into people. It should not be like that. But I don't think, and I don't support, even in some circles where I sit, that have given directives that Uganda arrest all those people in the studio like this. Some of these humans, that's why I think we also need to work so much on employment policy. On how do you, if you want to serve in the forces, what's your background? Some governments, they would take all of us for training so that you can understand and appreciate your country.
Now, I'd like to disagree with you on that and take you back sometime last year when the very erstwhile spokesperson of the Uganda People's Defense Forces sat here on this show and blamed Ugandans for giving them rogue boys and girls to join the force. And the ones that were responsible for some of the actions that are attributed to the state. I found that very unbefitting of the spokesperson of the army. You are also suggesting that if anyone acts on their own volition, they are actually acting. You should not blame the government.
It is completely your right to choose what is wrong and what is good, and that's it's optional to humans. Now the spokesperson making that statement.
The rule of law mean?
You are not going to have a very indisciplined community to implement the rule of law. That's what we are saying. That's why when we talk, how you have just mentioned here, which is also nice, how arrogant.
So the state takes advantage of this.
No. Let us also do a background check. Let's look at Kenya. How do they employ their people? It should be even by public interest. But here you get a graduate who wants to join police because there is nothing he wants to do, but he wants unemployment. It should serve your vocation. You should be doing something that has attributed to your country, not only for a job and earning money. So that we should... No, it's not a vote of confidence.
Government's responsibility to the citizens.
But before these people come, where do they come from? Who makes up government?
How many people have been arrested for kidnapping Ugandans?
No, there are so many. There are so many. Only that we cannot start bringing things. The way you demand the reports, a report will come, but there are so many things that you will not actually, if you would interest yourself to dig deeper into these government agencies, you know that people have been put in court because of the arrest. There are those I can even mention names for you.
For kidnapping Ugandans?
Those that have been kidnapping and they have been put in police cells.
And it's a secret.
All right, let me keep the ship on course. Honorable Shamim Malende,
yes.
If this boycott does not work the way you want it to work, if the National Resistance Movement stays adamant, does not come out to unequivocally speak about the disappearances, the arbitrary arrests, and the presentation in different courts or courts that shouldn't be trying some of these people, if that does not happen, are we waiting for a shameful return to Parliament on your part as the opposition?
You know, first and foremost, we have a mandate as parliamentarians to which we are supposed to do. And one of the most important things for us, which is actually shared in the Constitution, and which must be a responsibility of every person, every organ, every institution, every agency, and Article 2 is to protect the Constitution. So whatever it takes to ensure that we protect the Constitution, it is what we are going to do.
Okay.
So these statements by these people that, you know, after all they will come back, what will they do? Let me assure him, Mr. Brandon, Honorable OHT, and people who think like that or in that, you know, here. We are saying the issue of rights and freedoms, actually, even these people should join us, because they are equal parliamentarians. That article also, they're also supposed to respect that article. Brandon here is not supposed actually to appear in Parliament. Actually, we want a statement by NRM MPs when we are saying when they are also not going back, and they are saying, you know what, we have also understood Article 2 of the Constitution. And we have understood Article 79, and we are not going back. And we know this is we are saying from today that this is not NRM Parliament. This is a national parliament, which is supposed to know to look at issues that are affecting all Ugandans, irrespective of their political affiliations. So those are the statements that we want. Actually, for us, those are the issues that we are seeing that should be looked at. And as the alternative, we are saying we are going to take all the necessary steps to see that we fight or we execute our mandate.
So whichever way this ends, you're putting it into the courts of public opinion and hoping that conscience takes the day.
We are saying it's not just about conscience. The government has a responsibility to do what it's supposed to do, to take action against violations, and to make a commitment not to make these violations again. It is as simple as that. Why do they fear to come to Parliament and say, we are pledging, we shall not violate rights, the rights of Ugandans, we shall not stampede on the freedoms of the people. Okay. But also we are saying that other mechanisms of how we are going to be dealing with this issue shall be unveiled in the due course.
All right. Yes. Honorable Shamim Malende, I'm afraid I'm out of time. We are approaching the bottom of the hour of 8 o'clock, and my producer wants me to transition into our very next. I'll use a minute for each of you to wrap this up, but since you have just spoken, we shall consider that more like a wrap. But anyway, let me be fair enough and begin with Dr. Sarah Bireete.
I think for me, there is only one way forward. Either government should come to Parliament and tell Ugandans that they will govern this country in accordance with the Constitution, failure of which their silence is also a communication to Ugandans to say, we have dumped the Constitution and you're on your own. And this is a call for NRM MPs who think they have the numbers. Today it might be opposition. Honorable Chagulanyi got votes above 3 million. When you go and manhandle him at the international airport, how many people are you abusing? So failure for government to account for the human rights violations is a communication to Ugandans and that they are on their own. And this is what I'm communicating to viewers of this show.
Honorable Kintu, is there any hope for a change of strategy in communication?
First of all, I would like to appeal to our colleagues to come back, and actually they are absconding from duty. And yet they know they are supposed to be legit. And it has a tax implication, because at the end, by 6th of next month, me and Malende shall be getting the salary. And there will not be no reduction for the sitting should not attend. So please come, let us legislate. And then the other thing also, let us try to reduce this political activism in everything. Like we all agree, these are issues that cut across, but let us not be using it as an opportunity. Lastly, I want to thank Malende here. When 2 of our colleagues were in prison, and we would have debates in Parliament, she's the only one I would see the whole country going to massacre. And most of those opposition, his colleagues, would only come in Parliament to come out on the stairs and make... She was
a legal counsel for in the case.
I know, she's not the only lawyer there. But the rest of the other MPs who are in opposition, they would sit on the stairs of of parliament say we are protesting and get camera.
All right.
We should stop activism. Let us act. This is all our country.
First of all,
30 seconds.
Yes, 30 seconds. We have a duty as Parliament to use every platform to fight for the rights and freedoms of Ugandans.
Right.
So that is very important to note. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks to you too, Honorable Shamim Malende, Kampala Women Representative and member of the National Unity Platform, for making time. Many thanks to you too, Honorable Brandon. Alex Kintu, Member of Parliament for Kagoma North County and spokesperson of the National Resistance Movement Caucus. And not least, Executive Director at the Center for Constitutional Governance, Dr. Bireete. Many thanks for making time. It's been a pleasure having your company and helping us understand some of these dynamics. We hope the conversation can continue on our social media platforms, especially Twitter. Now, we are transitioning into our tech note. We shall be speaking social welfare and where we are as a country. Are we protecting our people for old age? Stay with us. I'll be right back.